If you are thinking of moving to Central Georgia, did you know that you can experience flash flooding, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, heat waves, and sometimes even a little snow all in 1 year? Living in Central Georgia means dealing with some very intense and often unpredictable weather. Today I'm going to share 5 things you'll hate about living in Central Georgia so you can ask the right questions when you're deciding whether to move here. Let's start with the big one. The weather in Central Georgia is nothing to joke about. Intense rainstorms can cause flash flooding, especially in the lower lying areas around rivers and creeks. You can experience half a foot of rain, which translates to river, creek, and lake levels rising by several feet. When Helene came through, there were 6-foot tall seawalls that were flooded by 6 inches in a matter of a few hours. And where does all that rain come from? Severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, and hurricanes. You can expect power outages that last for days and downed trees that block roads completely. This happens most often in the spring and early summer. You'll definitely want to establish a safety plan for when, not if, you are faced with this. On top of that, summers are relentlessly hot and humid. The heat index will hit over 100 degrees Fahrenheit on average at least 5 days per year. Readings hit 90 or higher between 70 and 80 days. Yes, for 2 to 3 months out of the year, it'll be over 90 degrees outside, and the humidity will have you feeling like you're breathing in hot soup. Just imagine taking the hottest shower you can stand for as long as you can stand it, and then putting your clothes on with no towel in between. That's your life now during the summer. Moving on to the next hated fact, most of the population, like 70% in Central Georgia, commute to work every day. That number goes higher when you consider how many travel to work at least once per week, and almost all of them travel back and forth in their personal vehicles. The average distance is over 20 miles, so the commute is at least 30 minutes one way on a good day. Most often that travel is on one of the 3 interstate highways running through the area, so if there are any accidents or delays, like due to bad weather, you're going to be sitting in the car for much longer. And if you're hitting the roads during rush hour, you definitely need to plan on being in the car for at least an hour there and an hour home. Truly, around here you can leave your house at 8 a.m. and get to work around 9, or leave your house at 7:30 and be at work around 8. There's usually very little in between. You might think, why is everyone traveling on their own vehicles? I'll just take public transportation. Well, no you won't. Despite having more than 120 public transportation systems, you'll find that only about 0.7% of workers commute by public transport. Georgians have a love for their own space, and that includes having their own space when traveling on the roadways. If you combine that with the inconvenient public transportation routes and potential delays stuck on public transport, you'll see why there are so many cars on the road. Georgia uses state funds to pay for highways and road projects and relies on each county to develop capital for their public transportation, so there's no unifying system to really make a difference. And the options that are there are usually in major cities and not in any of the rural areas. So you should plan on driving and maintaining your own transportation. I know you're thinking, between the crazy weather, long commute times, and lack of transportation, maybe I'll just work from home. Well, I did tell you that these were things you would hate about living here. A lot of the area just does not get great cell phone service, and oftentimes the only internet option is dial-up. Yes, even in 2024, that's sometimes the only choice you have. When the pandemic hit and people were forced to stay home, this issue became a focal point for several studies. Not only could people not work remotely, many students had no access to their schoolwork or help from their teachers, forcing parents to just figure it out at home with their children. Satellite services have begun to make a difference, and we know technology continues to improve. Just know that you may be dealing with some very slow speeds until it catches up to all of Central Georgia. And with the weather I've mentioned, even the best services are often disrupted enough to make it a pain point. The last thing I'll mention is this. I've helped so many people in their search for their new home in the area, and one of the questions I get very often is, so what do people do around here over the weekend for entertainment? Well, if you're looking to see a movie, a show, or go see a stage show at a theater, you'll be driving some more. Most of the towns in Central Georgia focus on outdoor activities like hiking, biking, or festivals for entertainment, and those activities are often canceled due to weather. Parks and outdoor centers will have to close for safety reasons, and even festivals can be few and far between during certain times of the year. Chances are, if you're seeing this video, you're considering moving to Central Georgia for a number of reasons. And if the points I've already made haven't changed your mind, then you'll definitely want to check out my next video, where I'll tell you about 5 must-see areas to live in Central Georgia. After all, the population here continues to really grow, so you know there are lots of things that make it worth the move. The next video will show you places you don't want to overlook when you're searching for your new home. In the meantime, if you have any questions about living smack dab in the middle of Georgia, then drop a comment or send me a message. I'll give you the good, the bad, and the ugly so you can make the best decision for your move.